Charles Manson is probably one of the most notorious and bizarre figures in the United States, and everything in his life has been very horrible since before his birth. His mother's name was Kathleen Maddox. At the time she was only 15 years old and was already... And it was in this life of bears that she met Charles's father. His name was Colonel Walker Henderson Scott. When he found out that Kathleen was pregnant, he disappeared, and Charles never knew his father. Charles was born on November 12, 1934, in Cincinnati. In the United States, in his first days of life, Charlie simply did not have a name. His mother registered him as no name. He only received the name weeks after his birth, thus becoming Charles Miles Maddox. And after Catherine's marriage to William Manson, who was not the boy's father but agreed to register him, he then became Miles Manson. When he was only 5 years old, Kathleen and her brother were arrested after stealing a boat, and he was sent to live with the Schatts. His childhood at school was also a bit complicated. At the age of 9, Charles tried to set fire to his own school. He was caught running away from school, and also for petty theft. In 1947, he was sent to a Catholic boarding school, and there he suffered physical punishments. He ran away several times and committed his first recorded crime, which was a robbery at the market. He used the money to rent a room, got a job, but continued with in the robberies. At 15, he was caught and sent to a reformatory. 4 days after arriving at the reformatory, he and other students got a tree and stole a car to escape from there. What I'm going to say here now is not to justify in any way what he did in life, but I believe that the upbringing he had and the absence of his parents had a great impact on Charles being like this. He didn't have good examples, and the people he knew in life were not good people. His new friend's uncle was a very experienced thief and recruited the boys as his apprentices. His life was going from bad to worse until 2 weeks later he was caught again during another robbery. He was sent to a reform school in Anna, and at the time this type of place was very, very bad. A hostile and aggressive environment, and the way the students were treated in that place further corroborated, so that they only got worse. Young people who left there left even more revolted with the world. Some students of that reformatory claimed that Charles suffered several abuses and aggressions, including encouraged by the employees. Charles escaped 8 times from that reformatory, and there he created a kind of protection too. When he couldn't defend himself, he pretended insanity and really acted like a crazy person. And this seems to have spilled over into his adult life as well. And you can see that he does this in several interviews.
About you, that makes people want to be a part of anything you're a part of. I'm new. Everything I do is always new. I'm in the realm of reality. I was born great. I do the research. I am the reason. Not tough then.
After several escape attempts, he finally manages to escape along with 2 other students. The 3 of them went to California in a stolen car, and when they arrived in Utah, they were arrested. And Charles again was sent to another juvenile correction center. In 1951, his aunt tried to help him and said she would take Charles into her home, and that she wanted to help him get a job. But it never happened. A month before his parole hearing, he was caught abusing another boy and threatening him with a knife, so he was transferred to the Pittsburgh Federal Reformatory, and there he committed 8 more disciplinary infractions. This time he was sent to a maximum security reformatory, and believe it or not, his good behavior got him released a year early. Earlier than expected, Charles left the reformatory and went to live with his C. The following year, he married Rosalie Willis, and the woman became pregnant and Charles was arrested again after 3 months of being released from prison for stealing a car. He was sentenced to probation for 5 years, but he didn't show up for his hearings, and so they canceled those 5 years of probation and replaced it with 3 years in prison. While he was in prison, his son, also named Charles, was born. At first, he received visits from his wife, but she stopped once she had a relationship with another man. After serving his sentence, Charles tried a music career, but it didn't work out very well. He continued to commit robberies to support himself and lived with call girls and thieves. And again he went to prison. At this point, he had already spent more than half of his life in jail. Charles agreed to be transferred to a special unit, where prisoners participated in drug tests such as methamphetamine and LSD. During this same period is where the darkest part of his life began. The Manson family. He preached his own philosophy, a mixture of religions, fantasies, and the Beatles. And little by little, his speeches began to gain followers. As soon as he served his sentence, he returned to society, this time gathering followers for his sect. They met on a rural property to listen to Charles's ideas and use hallucinogens. He took themes that are very beaten today, such as the day of the apocalypse, and that kind of thing. He also said that a certain group of people needed to die, and called them pigs. And all these pigs were successful people. For what he never managed to be? For many, he is considered a charismatic genius. For me, he's just a disturbed, empty, and envious mind. On August 8, 1969, the Manson family made their first attack. 4 members of Charles's cult went to the house to reach Sharon Tate, Susan, Patricia Tate, Tex Watson, and Linda Kasabian. In the past, Charles had visited the actress to be able to have contacts with people in Hollywood and boost his music career. And it is very likely that this is a personal revenge. Inside the house there were 6 people. Sharon, who was pregnant, Abigail, Wojtek, Stephen, and Jay. They were all brutally murdered, totaling almost 200 stab wounds. On the door of the house, they wrote the word pig with the actress's blood. The following night, Charlie joined his group for a new attack. This time, Lenola Bianca and her wife, Rosemary Dot, both impressive Caesareans with a good life, everything that Charles never achieved. Charles entered the house and tied up the couple. And the members of the Manson family entered the house to follow Charles's orders. Lino was killed by stab wounds and had the word war written on his abdomen. Rosemary also died, receiving more than 40 stab wounds. In addition, the Manson family committed many robberies, assaults, theft, and the attempted assassination of President Gerald Ford. While the murder investigation was still going on, a boy found a gun used in the invasion of Sharon Tate's house in a bush. It was handed over to the police, but failed the analysis. Sometime later, Charles was arrested again for car thefts. Stealing, what's that? Susan, one of those responsible for the murders, was also arrested for and inside the jail, she confessed the truth. A friend told her about being responsible for Sharon Taylor's murder, and she said that other famous people were also on the list, like Elizabeth Taylor and Frank Sinatra, giving us the understanding that he really wanted revenge on the people who had what he managed to have. Susan's story ended up having repercussions in jail and reached the ears of the investigators. Even the Manson family property and some of the members were taken in for questioning. Easily confessed, exposing the cult of pie. At one of the hearings, Charles appears with an X cut on his forehead, saying that he had freed himself from society. Likewise, some of the members did the cult. He tried to attack a judge with a while. Some of her followers were singing something in Latin. Police officer held him back as he tried to reach across a table to attack the judge. and Charles' most acidic followers declared that he was not to blame. Since he had never killed anyone, he was able to manipulate it. So much these people to the point of defending him before the Yatadale. All that. Some time passed, and the X on Charles's forehead turned into a swastika, as more and more evidence came to light at his hearings. On the 4th of March, 1971, Charles appears at the hearing with his beard cut in half and part of his hair shaved off,
claiming to be the devil. What are you? Tell me in one sentence who you are.
Nobody. Yeah. I am a hobo. I am a boxcar and a glass of wine. And a reasoning if you get too close to me.
Charles tried in every way to manipulate people and pass himself off as a genius, as if the world owed him something. Inside the prison, initially, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and delusional disorder. They said he couldn't tell what was real and what was part of his imagination. This result later changed, and he was now said to have bipolar disorder and a psychopathy. And even though he said he never killed anyone that day, March 1971, Charles Manson was found guilty of blood for 7 counts of murder and conspiracy. He was sentenced to death, but got a commutation to life in prison. All of the cult members who participated in the murders were sentenced to death. And at the time, this was the largest trial in the United States, running over 30 pages over 10 months. On January 1st, 2017, Charles was taken to the hospital due to gastrointestinal bleeding, and the doctor said he was too weak to undergo surgery. So he returned to prison to serve his sentence. On November 19th, 2017, Charles Manson died at the age of 81 from cardiac and respiratory failure, caused by colon cancer. And as I said during the video, for some, a charismatic and manipulative genius. But for me, just a frustrated, envious, and empty person. Thank you very much for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel, and check the possibility of becoming a member because it helps a lot. See you next time.